Magandang araw mga kababayan. Mainit ngayon ang oral argument sa Supreme Court ukol sa kontrobersyal na korupsyon sa ating PhilHealth. Mga kababayan, ang PhilHealth ay isang government-owned and controlled corporation na itinatag upang pamahalaan ang pambansang kalusugan ng bawat Pilipino. Bagaman ito ay nasa ilalim ng pamahalaan, ang pondo nito ay hango sa kontribusyon ng bawat Pilipinong miyembro na binabayaran ng buwan-buwan ng mga manggagawa, professional, OFW, at iba pa.
Awesome!
Ang naturang pondo ay hindi may tuturing na simpleng pera ng gobyerno. Ito ay isang pondong pinagkakatiwalaan o kaya trusted fund na may malinaw na gamitin lamang para sa benepisyo ng mga miyembro. Kaya't usaping legal at moral, ang tunay na may-ari ay ang mamamayan mismo. Ang pamahalaan ay may tungkuling bandayan at tiyakin ang maayos na paggamit ng pondo alinsunod sa umiiral na batas ukol sa audit, accounting, at serbisyong publiko.
I love it! You guys are so great!
Gayunpaman, anumang pakikialam na lumalapastangan sa hangganan ng tapat na pangangasiwa, lalo na kung may halong interes ng politika ay labag sa prinsipyo ng pananagutang pangpubliko. Ang karapatang magbantay, magtanong at magreklamo ay karapatan ng mga nag-ambag sa pondo. Tayo, mga kababayan. Kaya't dapat lang na managot ang sinumang lumabag sa layunin ng PhilHealth. Managot ang mga kurakot na nasa kapangyarihan at mga mangingilang politikong nagnanakaw sa kaban. Laging tandaan ng PhilHealth ay hindi pagmamay-ari ng gobyerno. Ito ay pag-aari nating mga Pilipino na nagsusustento nito sa pamamagitan ng ating pagbabayad ng kontribusyon. Ang papel ng gobyerno ay bilang tagapamahala lamang at dapat itong kumilos ng may mataas na pananagutan at integridad. Karapatan lang ng bawat miyembro na maging mapagmatsyag at aktibo sa pagtutol sa maling paggamit ng pondo at sa pagsulong ng isang tapat at epektibong serbisyong pangkalusugan. Para sa karagdagan impormasyon, panoorin ang sumusunod na video.
Ang sabi sa akin ng aming kasambahay, Kuya, bakit nila pinapakilaman ang aming pera? Sa amin ang PhilHealth eh. Kanino ba talaga ang PhilHealth?
Legally, PhilHealth is a government corporation, Your Honor. It's wholly owned by the national government. And it is the administrator of the National Health Insurance Program. So, as the administrator of the National Health Insurance Program, it received premiums from members of PhilHealth. And there are two types of members of PhilHealth. We have the direct contributors and we have the indirect contributors, Your Honors. The direct contributors are the people like us, employed and paying our premium directly to PhilHealth. The indirect contributors are those whose premiums are paid by the government.
Excuse me, Atty. Masura, kung pwede sana, Tagalog din ang pagsagot mo.
I will try, Your Honor, but I wish it were Ilocano.
Would you need an interpreter?
No, Your Honor.
We are willing to provide one.
Ilocanuin mo.
Sige po, sige po. So, ang may-ari po ng PhilHealth is the national, as a government corporation, is the national government po. Ngayon, yung PhilHealth, at the same time, ang function niya, main function, is the administrator of the National Health Insurance Program. Yung National Health Insurance Program po natin ay parang bayanihan. Kasi dito po, yung mga healthy, tumutulong sila sa gastos ng mga may sakit. At yung mga mas may kaya sa buhay, tumutulong din sa pag-alaga ng mga hindi maka-afford ng healthcare po. Ganon. So, ang ginagamit ng PhilHealth para po gampanan yung task po na yan ay yung premiums na natatanggap po from direct contributors at yung natatanggap na premium from the government for ang tinatawag mga indirect contributors po. Yung mga walang trabaho, senior citizens, persons with disability, may mga kapansanan, ganun po.
Kaya ano ngayon ang component ng pondo ng PhilHealth? Unang-una siguro, kung hindi ako nagkakamali, yung direct contribution ng mga miyembro.
Yes.
Pangalawa ay yung indirect contributions. Saan nanggagaling ang indirect contributions?
Yung payments po para dun sa mga tinatawag na indirect members, nanggagaling po sa national government, given through the General Appropriations Act po. Doon po sa General Appropriations Act, may provision. Actually, tinignan ko po yung General Appropriations Act nung 2021, 2022, 2023, 2024. Pare-pareho po sila. Merong provisions po doon, subsidy for the National Health Insurance Program. Doon po nakalagay yung premium payments po ng mga tinatawag na indirect contributors.
At ang pangatlo, yung sin tax, di po ba?
Actually po, yung sin tax, doon po kinukuha ng national government yung ina-appropriate under the GAA.
So,
Section.
yung indirect contributions nanggagaling sa sin tax, portion of sin tax.
Yes po.
Yun ba, maliwanag?
Yes po.
So, hindi pala tatlo ang component ng PhilHealth Fund.
Kasi
Hindi yung direct contributions, indirect contributions, at sin tax. Kundi dalawa lang. Yung direct contributions na nanggagaling sa mga miyembro at yung subsidiya ng gobyerno para sa mga mahihirap, para sa mga elderly, na ito naman ay kinukuha sa sin tax. Ganun po ba?
Opo. Yung pong Section 37 po ng Universal Healthcare Act, ang nakasabi po doon, na para doon sa implementation po ng Universal Healthcare, nilagay po doon yung sources of revenues. One of them is the sin taxes. The sin taxes. Ngayon po, pero yung implementation po ng Universal Healthcare Act, isang aspeto lang po doon, yung premium payments for the indirect contributors. Kasi meron din pong mga projects po yung DOH na pwede hong in the implementation of the Universal Healthcare Act that can also be funded from the sin taxes po.
Sa sin tax, so, magkano ho ang nakalaan para sa PhilHealth? Para pang subsidiya sa PhilHealth? Magkano, sa batas ho, magkano ang nakalaan para sa PhilHealth?
This is yung accumulated po from the
Accumulated. Well, ang nakalagay po dito, is the total incremental sin tax collections po, as provided in the sin tax reform law. And in 2014 po, that was equivalent to 22.71 billion. That was in 2014. But PhilHealth received not just a subsidy of 22.7 million, it received more. It received 30.30 billion.
Wala ho bang nabanggit sa syntax law kung magkanong porsyento ang dapat na ilaan para sa PhilHealth?
So yung 80% of 50% total collection ng sweetened beverages mapupunta sa PhilHealth is 80% of the 50%.
So parang 80% ho of total collection from taxes on tobacco and taxes on sweetened beverages.
80%.
Opo, opo.
Kaya kung
80% of 50%.
80% of 50%.
Opo, opo. Kasi yun po yung incremental.
At ang syntax, pagka naipasok na sa PhilHealth Fund, pwede ho bang alisin o bawiin uli ng ating pamahalaan?
Ang tingin ko po, kasi po, nasabi natin kanina na yung national government, owner po siya ng PhilHealth. Ngayon po, pagka under the Section 37, the appropriations for PhilHealth are under the General Appropriations Act po. Now, under the General Appropriations Act, yun pong appropriations po for PhilHealth are for premium payments po of indirect contributors. If you will allow me po to quote the provision, it says po, this is the provision in the GAAS for fiscal years 2021, 2022, 2023, and 2024, providing appropriations for the Philippine Health Insurance Corporation. Ito po ang nakalagay. The amount, and I quote po, the amount appropriated herein under the subsidy for the National Health Insurance Program shall be used for the health insurance premiums of indirect contributors composed of the following: 1. Indigents, senior citizens, unemployed persons with disability, and financially incapable point-of-service patients. So, tinatanggap po ng PhilHealth yung pera na nilalaan sa kanya sa GAA as premium payments po.
Alam ba natin kung magkano ang mga babayaran ng mga nabanggit mo kanina, yung mga unemployed, yung mga elderly? Alam ba ho natin kung magkano?
I think may sinasubmit po yung PhilHealth sa DBM, yun, na formula, tapos po yun po ang sinusunod. Ito po yung number ng indirect contributors, and then they suggest a premium rate, and then that's how the government comes up with the amount to be appropriated as premium payments for the indirect contributors. Ngayon, pero kung babalik po ako dun sa tanong niyo po kanina, kung pagkatapos po bang matanggap ng PhilHealth yung appropriations under the GAA coming from the syntax, pwede ba niyang magamit sa ibang bagay? Parang ganun po.
Or bawiin uli?
Bawiin, oo. Kasi po, dapat po, kasi ang purpose po ng PhilHealth is to implement the National Health Insurance Program. So, dapat doon po niya gagamitin sa National Health Insurance Program. Pero nagkakaroon ng pagkakataon po na hindi nagmamatch yung revenue sa expenses. So, may naiiwan. And in fact, the law po, yung the law, contemplates such a situation kasi it requires PhilHealth to have a reserve fund which shall be a portion po of the accumulated revenues. So what I'm saying po is, actually, since the GAA provide that the GAAs provide that the amounts appropriated for PhilHealth are appropriated as premium payments of indirect contributors, the moment that PhilHealth po receives those premium payments, those amounts appropriated as premium payments, those appropriated amounts have served their purpose.
You know, your explanation is contrary to what is stated. Very simple English in paragraph B. Now, let's go to, okay,
Your Honor,
oh,
may I add something to
please.
the discussion? Section 37, the opening sentence says, the amount necessary to implement this act shall be sourced from the following, etc. Emphasis on the word necessary. The last paragraph of Section 37 speaks again of necessary. Could we have it flashed likewise, Your Honor? The last paragraph, I understand, of Section 37. Section 37. Which one? Your Honor, Section 37, last paragraph, the amount necessary to implement the provisions of this act shall be included in the GAA and shall be appropriated under the DOH and national government subsidy to PhilHealth. I will not mention the last sentence anymore, it's not relevant. What I'm trying to say, Your Honor, is notwithstanding the identification of sources and the specific purposes for these funds, it would appear under Section 37, the opening paragraph and the last paragraph, that Congress is given the discretion to determine the amount as may be necessary to implement the provisions of the Universal Healthcare Act.
okay. I'll go to that later. With respect to the first paragraph, in relation to the last paragraph on the word necessary. But aside from PAGCOR, we have also the charity fund and contributions from PCSO. Same provision, nakalagay dito, that the funds raised for this purpose shall be transferred to PhilHealth at the end of each quarter, subject to usual budgeting, accounting, and auditing rules. And I presume your answer to my question relative to paragraph B would also be the same for paragraph C.
Yes, Your Honor, but I would like to inform the Honorable Court that per our records, that amount remitted by PCSO for PhilHealth as of end 2024 is about 6.84 billion pesos.
So with respect to B and C, you have your own interpretation. My simple reading of this provision says that the share of government in PAGCOR and PCSO, a portion of which supposed to be given to PhilHealth. Sabi ninyo, bawal yang direct remittance. Assuming bawal yan, dumaan yan sa National Treasury. But for B and C, sinasabi dyan na yung amount collected na yan, reserve yan for PhilHealth. You cannot touch that amount. You cannot reduce that. Yun ang understanding ko. You have a different interpretation. So that's an issue before us. Okay. Now, let us now go to the what Mr. Solgen mentioned with respect to the amount necessary. I'll read the last paragraph. The amount necessary to implement the provision of this act shall be included in the GAA and shall be appropriated under the DOH and the national government subsidy to PhilHealth. That's the first sentence. As mentioned by Mr. Solgen, the second sentence medyo hindi naman applicable. No? So, but this sentence refers to paragraph E and paragraph F. If you go to paragraph E and F, it refers to annual appropriations of the DOH included in the GAA. Letter F, national government subsidy to PhilHealth included in the GAA. With respect to letter E, that is the share of DOH to implement the National Healthcare Program. Is that correct? with respect to letter E. That is the share of the government has to give money to DOH for DOH to implement its
Yes, Your Honor.
program under the National Healthcare Program.
Yes, Your Honor.
Okay. Letter F, it refers to the national government subsidy to PhilHealth included in the GAA. This refers, to my understanding, is the premium contribution of indirect contributors given by the government as included in the GAA. Am I correct?
Yes, Your Honor.
Okay. Now, earlier, or for previous oral arguments, it appears to me that letter A, the increment sin tax collection, were used to cover letter F. Am I correct? That is what the government is doing. Collections from sin taxes.
Yes,
Yan
Your
ang
Honor. This will
ginamit.
be part of the general funds from which F will have to be implemented.
Yes. So apparently, on the part of the government, kung anong collection sa sin tax, or even PAGCOR, or even PCSO, yan ang ginamit pagpuno ng national government subsidy to PhilHealth. Am I correct?
Yes, Your Honor. That
Okay.
is correct.
These are sources.
But my understanding of 37 is totally different. Because 37 enumerates different independent sources of funding. Kung ang interpretation ng government is that the national government subsidy to PhilHealth included in the GAA as F would be sourced from A, B, and C, that paragraph or that 37 would appear as follows. Letter F, national government subsidy to PhilHealth included in the GAA to be sourced from sin tax, PAGCOR, or PCSO. Hindi siya separate A, B, and C. Ang ginawa ng gobyerno dito, yung A collection, yung B collection, C collection, yun ang binigay sa national subsidy ng PhilHealth on the part of indirect contributors. And then, ang tinatakutan ko pa, yung collection ng tatlo na yan, kulang na kulang pa. Mas konti pa sa binigay for subsidy. That is my understanding if you read 37. Because if we follow your understanding of 37 on A, B, and C, A, B, and C should be sub-paragraph of F. Hindi siya independent source of income or support for PhilHealth. What can you say?
We'll explain that, Your Honor.
If I may, Your Honor. Your Honor, it was already alluded to by the OGCC, but where our records from 2014 until 2024, the syntax laws 10351 and of course 10346, 11346. Pardon if there's a wrong mistake in the numbering. The total allocation from the syntaxes that should be given to PhilHealth amounts to about 534 billion pesos for that decade, for that entire decade. But during the same period, Your Honor, the GAA has included in the subsidy component to PhilHealth an amount worth 635.36 billion pesos. So the difference between the two is 101 billion pesos. And it is this difference at 101 billion, it is the amount that is being referenced by that F. It is shall we say, a placeholder to account for the possibility that the government can provide more resources to PhilHealth, more than what the syntax collections are, depending, of course, on the need of PhilHealth. So that would be the factual context that I would like to use to interpret that provision. Then the second minor clarification, with your kind indulgence, Your Honor, is that B and C are not going to be paying for premium subsidies of indirect contributors. These are for the expansion of benefit packages. it is highlighted by the
Last proviso.
representative by the PhilHealth na pag nakuha yung BNC na yun po, sir, is going to be treated as a trust liability. Hindi po siya magiging premium contribution. So the treatment of the two will be different from the point of view of PhilHealth.
Okay.
Thank you, Your Honor.
Now, so you're saying, with respect to A, the collections from A, the sin tax law, what the government is doing is that the collection here in respect to A is the one that will be given in F.
No, Your Honor, it will be part of the amounts given under F.
Yes. So,
Yes.
whatever is the subsidy of government to PhilHealth to answer for the indirect contributors, ang pera na yan, galing yan sa A. Yan ang sinasabi mo.
Galing po sa A plus other resources
Plus other.
of government.
Probably
Yes.
the bulk will be coming from A. Now, however, what I'm saying is that A is independent of F. Because Section 37 enumerates the sources. If A should be used to fill up F, A should be a subparagraph of F. That is how English should be made or crafted. Di ba? Ganun lang kasimple yan eh. Oh, now, with respect to B and C, may collection dyan sa PAGCOR, may collection dyan sa PCSO. Nasaan na yan? Was it remitted to PhilHealth? The total amount remitted to PhilHealth from the National or General Fund?
It is with the Treasury, Your Honor. Only 41 billion pesos has been included
So
in
precisely.
the GAA.
So what you're saying, nag-collect kayo sa PAGCOR, nag-collect kayo sa PCSO. Yes, a portion was remitted to PhilHealth, but not the total amount. Because B and C is very clear in saying that the funds raised for this purpose, PCSO, PAGCOR, Charity Fund, shall be transferred to PhilHealth at the end of each quarter, subject to the usual budgeting, accounting, and auditing rules. My understanding of usual budgeting, accounting, and auditing rules does not include reducing the amount. It may refer to creating a ledger, a journal, whatever it is, but does not include the power to reduce the amount collected from PAGCOR or even PCSO. Do you agree with me?
Yes, Your Honor. And
So therefore-
I would like to highlight that there is no reduction in the allocations going, set aside for PhilHealth under those collections. Whatever happens, 85 billion is still 85 billion. Whatever happens, 6.8 billion is still 6.8 billion. What is at issue here is the timing with which those funds will be given.
No,
And,
the timing is stated here, at the end of each quarter. That's the directive there. So that it should be a regular thing from the national government to transfer it to PhilHealth. So, I would like to know from PhilHealth, natatanggap ba niyo yung pera from PAGCOR? Natatanggap ba niyo yung pera from PCSO? Na very clear from BNC here that you should receive this quarterly to help increase benefit packages. Natatanggap ba nila?
No, because it's all
So
subject
therefore,
to GAA.
if they do not receive this, as you had admitted, my interpretation here, this was violated. Hindi kayo nagbigay ng pera sa PhilHealth galing sa PAGCOR or galing sa Charity Fund and Philippine PCSO.
The Honor, the Chief Justice of the Republic of the Philippines, the Senior Associate Justice, and the Associate Justices of the Supreme Court of the Philippines. Hear ye, hear ye, hear ye. All persons having business before the Honorable Supreme Court of the Philippines shall give their attention, for the court is now in session.
Please be seated. Good afternoon, Your Honors. This is a continuation of the oral arguments on the consolidated petition by the Speaker, Ferdinand Martin Romualdez et al. Respondents. Thank you, Your Honor.
Council's appearances, please.
With the permission of the court, good afternoon, Your Honors. Respectfully appearing as counsel for petitioners in GR number 274778, Paula May and Kim, Your Honor. Together with me is Michael Ocampo, Your Honor.
Good afternoon, Your Honors. Nery Colmenares, Counsel for Petitioners Bayan Muna et al. Versus Marcos et al. Your Honors.
Good afternoon, Your Honors. Attorney Kathleen Jessica I. Dinibundo, respectfully appearing for petitioners Isang Bayan and UP Law Class of 1970.
Good afternoon, Your Honors. Attorney Joseph Peter Calleja, respectfully appearing for Seniors Association Inc., Kidney Foundation of the Philippines, and the Sambela Alumni University. Thank you, Your Honor. Good afternoon, Your Honors. Attorney Christopher Lau, respectfully appearing as counsel for petitioners in GR number 276233.